Hey everyone, this is Dr. David Song from Rehab here, and today we'll be talking about triceps tendinitis or tendinopathy. We'll be talking about recovery options, what it feels like, so let's dig deep. The triceps is a group of 3 muscles that attach onto the back of your arm. The tendon is the component that attaches the muscle to the bone. This area can become irritated depending on what you're doing in your daily life. Some things like overworking it in workouts such as the bench press, tricep pull downs, doing non-optimized form, which can actually load this tendon unnecessarily, or sometimes people can get it depending on occupational demands. This means that depending on what you do for your job or what you do for your living, it can overload this tendon. Some typical signs or symptoms that you have a triceps tendon issue is that you might have pain during the activity, pain lasting for more than 2 hours after the activity, or pain at night when you're trying to sleep, or it hurts in the morning the day after. A typical sign of a tendon injury is that it tends to feel better when you start moving around. This is called the warm-up effect of a tendon. Now, since triceps tendinitis is an overuse injury, it'll be really important to do one of 2 things. First, you have to remove yourself from doing aggravating activities. Yes, this might mean you have to modify your workouts so you're not pushing through pain. This also might mean that you have to modify your duties at work depending on what your occupation is. Try to see if your employer will allow you to do another type of job while you're recovering from this type of injury. 2, you have to increase the capacity of the actual tendon. This means that we have to increase your triceps tendon's ability to absorb load and to handle it. The only way for this to work is by actually increasing the tendon's resilience to load. So how do you do that? Basically, you have to strength train it, but you'll want to do it through something called time under tension. Time under tension really refers to the amount of time that the muscle that the tendon is attached to is experiencing a load. And when I say load, I really mean like pressure from resisting a weight. Now, this weight can be body weight, it can be an external force like using a band, it can also be something like using a cable machine or a dumbbell. As with most tendon injuries, what you want to do is decrease the amount of demand on it in your daily life, aka modify duties, aka modify workouts, and you want to increase the resilience of your actual tendon, meaning it can handle more load. When we have a healthy demand to capacity ratio, that's when things start to feel better. Now, tendon injuries can take a long time to recover. On average, it takes about 2 to 3 months for you to recover from a tendon injury. And this is assuming that you're not doing a lot to re-irritate or re-injure the tendon. So you gotta be patient with the process, trust the process, okay? Today we'll be doing 3 exercises that you could do using no equipment at all. This is for everyone that doesn't really have access to a gym. Before we start, there are some rules to follow. First thing, you're not pushing through pain with any of these exercises, at least not above a 2 out of 10 discomfort. If you feel a little bit of pressure, that's okay. If it hurts though, you might be pushing it a little too hard. 2, it doesn't hurt after you're done doing the rehab exercises. What this means that, sure, it might feel sore for a few hours, but not more than 2 hours, and it's not hurting overnight, and it's not hurting in the morning after. 3, you're not going to be doing these exercises every day. You're actually going to give it some time to recover, and about 40 hours is a good amount of time before you reinforce that tendon with more exercises. You really want to focus on recovery. This is what it's all about, recovery. Not how hard you're pushing through the exercises, but how well you recover following those exercises. Another thing I do want to chat about is that you're not going to be trying to push into that 2 out of 10 pain. Reaching that 2 out of 10 pain threshold does not mean that it's the appropriate intensity of the exercise. If anything, I prefer that you just feel comfortable throughout the whole entire motion and that you really don't have to resensitize your structures. So instead, what I want you to think of is your effort level that you're putting into that exercise. So I like to rank things between easy, medium, and hard. Generally speaking, you always want to stick with medium. So if the exercise is becoming too easy, find a harder variation. Within these effort levels, it has nothing to do with the actual sensation of pain or discomfort. Another thing that you want to think about with this exercise is elbow positioning. So you might have noticed that sometimes when people do a skull crusher, you can actually flare out your elbows. And some people will actually say, well, this is bad form. But to be quite honest, it really depends on your specific situation. If you tend to find that the most irritable positions is with your elbows flared out, well, guess what? You're going to have to practice moving towards that type of motion in order to desensitize that motion from causing you pain. You have to practice and strengthen the movements you are having difficulty with. You can't avoid them forever, or else how do you expect to get good at those movements? All right, so the first exercise that we're going to try to do today is called a wall skull crusher. Now I'm gonna be using a barbell, but you can actually put your hands in the same placement against the wall at home. So what you're going to do is first you're going to hold up your hands up against the wall. You're going to keep your hands about shoulder distance apart. And for this exercise, we'll be actually bending the elbows just like that without moving much at the shoulders. So you actually want to keep your upper arm fixated in the same spot. If you want to increase the difficulty of this exercise, all you have to do is move further down the wall and feet further from the wall so that you're more on an incline. You're going to put your hands right up against that wall. You're going to keep your spine nice and neutral, and you're going to simply allow your elbows to bend. Now this exercise is called a skull crusher because your forehead will be moving towards the area of contact, okay? And if you were to fall, you'll crush your skull, and that's why it's called a skull crusher. So that's what a typical skull crusher looks like. Now, for the sake of triceps tendinitis or tendinopathy, what we're going to do is incorporate principles of time under tension, which means we're going to actually focus on the negative phase of this movement. And this is something that we're going to do for all the exercises that I'm going to show you today. You're going to put your hands on there, and we're going to focus on that negative phase of the movement. You're going to slowly, at a 5-second tempo, and now when I say 5 seconds, I mean 5 Mississippis. You're going to go for a downward negative movement. So you're going to start from here, and you're going to go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. From here, since I want you to focus on the negative phase, you can actually prop your leg in front of you to push yourself back up, and we're going to go again. So this motion is called the eccentric phase of the movement, okay? Generally, we're going to do about 5 to 7 repetitions, and we want to work within a comfortable range of motion. If you find a specific range of motion exceeds that 2 out of 10 pain, just don't go that far, right? You can shorten up the range and slowly improve your range as your tendon becomes more resilient to these types of forces that you're putting it through. So for example, if at the bottom here, where my forehead nearly touches the bar, is where I feel pain exceeding that 2 out of 10 pain, you can either stop the movement here, so you're not going as far, or another option is to regress the exercise by putting your hands higher up on the wall. So now you're not going as deep as well, okay? This will also mean that you're not putting as much of your body weight into it, which means you're lifting less load. So that's the first exercise you can start doing. All right, let's move on to the next exercise. We're going to do some eccentric push-ups. And depending on how strong you are and how physically fit you were before this injury, you can actually do this from the knees, so doing a knee push-up, or you can do a full push-up. The version of a push-up that we're going to focus on is called the military push-up, which means that you want to keep your upper arm tucked close to the body. The military push-up will actually load the triceps tendon more relatively to the chest muscles, which are typically targeted in a normal push-up. So this is what it looks like. So first we're going to do a knee push-up variant, and you could do a full push-up variant depending on how strong you are. And just like with the wall skull crushers, we'll be focusing on the time under tension component of this exercise, which means we're going to do a 5-second tempo during the negative phase, also known as the eccentric phase of the motion. For the concentric phase, once again, just like in the wall skull crusher, you're going to just allow yourself to cheat your way back up, and then you can just focus on the downward motion once again. Now, if you can handle doing the concentric motion yourself, by all means, go for it, right? It's not going to make things worse. I just like to focus our energy on the thing that's going to load the tendon the most over a longer period of time. What we're going to do is you're just going to go on your knees here. You could have your feet together if you want, hands right in front of your shoulders, and you're going to slowly, at a 5-second tempo, lower your body towards the floor. As you can see, I'm keeping my arms as close to my body as possible. I'm going to go all the way down. And from here, I'm just going to cheat my way back up so that I can start my next repetition. Just like with the wall skull crusher, I'm going to be focusing between 5 to 7 repetitions. By all means, you could do more repetitions if you feel like you have the strength to do so. And if you feel like you are strong enough, you can then go for a full push-up variation. Really focusing on controlling that descent. Okay. So we'll be going on to the next exercise, which is just an eccentric banded pull down. Now, once again, we'll be using a band, something that you have access to at home. Once again, we want to take advantage of the eccentric component so we can take advantage of the time under tension, loading effect of the tendon. So we'll be doing, once again, a 5-second negative tempo. So this motion, a negative tempo will actually be returning back to rest. So you'll see me do a tricep pull down, and some key concepts when you're doing this exercise is that you're making sure that the elbow stays pinned near your body. You won't be pivoting across your shoulder while you're doing these exercises. You'll be doing a pure triceps extension. Now I really like this exercise because it really does help to isolate your triceps specifically, whereas the other exercises, sure, you'll get your shoulder activated, you'll get your chest activated, but this exercise will really focus on the triceps. So you're gonna start. You anchor the band to something high. If you have a door anchor, you could tie it to that. If you don't have a door anchor, I honestly recommend getting one. They're like $7 on Amazon. Super cheap, and it'll add so much versatility to your home gym setup. So you could do not only rehabilitative exercises, but you can actually work out with it and do like exercises like the rows, fly, etc. So you'll be pinning your elbow right next to your body, holding onto the band, and you're going to pull it down, straight down. You can see my triceps activate. And then you're going to come up at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-second tempo once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also play with different wrist orientations because that will target a different triceps head. You can figure out which one feels the most comfortable, which one feels the least comfortable. Start with the one that feels most comfortable and work your way towards the one that feels least comfortable as your triceps becomes more capable of handling these types of loads. So you could also do a fully pronated wrist orientation. Do the same thing. And you can even grab the band to do a supinated grip to once again work your triceps. All right, so there you have it. Those are the 3 exercises that you can do from home with minimal equipment for your triceps tendon. Really appreciate you guys coming in to watch our video today. Please leave a subscribe and like this video. Leave a comment if you have any additional questions, or if you want to see another video that we can work on, let me know.